Hello and welcome back to Inside Out with Chris, the podcast. But what I want to drop in with today, something that has been coming up for me personally and my clients, is let's talk about changing the freaking narrative on what health means to you. Let's look at what actually does health mean to you, stripping it back and refining it to be really, really clear and intentional. Because what I'm finding is in this space, there is so many people telling us what to do and how to do it, and it's fucking with our heads. And I think that you'll all agree with me. There's this overwhelming sense of, oh my God, I have to do it all and I have to get it all right. And if I don't get it all right, then it's wrong. And labeling it as failure, right? And in that mindset and in the way that we're operating on that low vibe frequency, we're actually creating unsustainability, a complete disconnection with ourselves and what we actually want to do and how we want to do it. So what I really want to invite here on today's episode is let's strip it back. What does health mean to you? Is it waking up with energy? Is it feeling strong? Is it being able to carry 2 kids up the stairs? Like, what is it that it means to you? And how can you set some intentionality and take action with basically leading towards that goal? And that's not going to be burning yourself out. That's not going to be like 75 hard's a bit of a trend thing at the moment. And I've tried it myself. I don't have fucking time for 2 45-minute workouts in the day. And everyone can tell you, oh, you can create the time. Actually, if you look at my day from getting up at 5 a.m. to going to bed at 10 p.m., there is no space in my day for that level, right? And for some people that works and that's awesome. But what I'm really noticing is refining what works for me, right? So bringing it back to the basic of, okay, what feels good? Does walking feel good? Does running feel good? Does boxing, like what actually feels good? Do you need to go to the gym 6 days a week for it to be right? Or do you just simply need to show up for 12 minutes in the day? Do you need to have a dance party in the kitchen with your kids? Like, what is it that's going to actually bring you joy and pleasure and give you that dopamine hit, give you that endorphin release? And are you able to integrate that into your life rather than holding yourself to a standard that's unsustainable? And also, it's actually dishonoring yourself. When we think about loving ourselves, we think about nourishing our bodies, we think about doing things that make us feel good. We don't do things that are a disservice to us, right? And if you're getting up and dragging your ass out of bed, kicking and screaming, and then you're exhausted for the rest of the day, I want you to tap into that. Does it actually fucking feel good for you right now? Or is it something that you're resisting? And if that's the case, then what would be so wrong with changing it? Actually challenge yourself with this resistance. What would be wrong about changing it? Would it be that it's not going to look a certain way, right? Or you're going to feel like you've failed because you're not doing what other people are doing. And the comparisonitis that creeps in here is such negative internal self-talk because you're actually comparing your life to someone else's, and your life is never going to look identical to someone else's. That comes down to diet as well. Like, I see all of these incredible women making these fabulous recipes every night for their family. I've got 4 kids and they're the fussiest eaters in the world. I cook most nights 3 meals a night just to please so that everyone eats what's on their plate kind of thing. To serve everyone, right? That cooking one big healthy family recipe doesn't work in my household. So noticing if that's relating to you and your life, how can you be putting that pressure on yourself every single night and feeling like you failed? Do you actually want to feel that way? Or can you actually lean into changing that narrative on what it looks like, changing the narrative on what success looks like in terms of your health, and stripping it back to what fucking works, what works for you, what feels good for you, and really refining the systems that I feel like a lot of us have already in place, refining them to do or to be from a place of self-love and self-pleasure, right? Do the things that light you up. Do the things that set your soul on fire. If you want to have Macca's 3 times that week for the kids, then do it. Last week, as some of you know, if you're working with me in a one-on-one capacity, my husband's been really unwell in hospital for the last 2.5 weeks, right? So my life has looked a little bit fucking different. And that has looked like, well, the kids have had Domino's, the kids have had McDonald's. And is that how I operate on a standard level? Absolutely not. Is that how I feel 100% of the time around looking after my family and prioritizing their health? Fuck no. But it worked for me, right? And I needed to make it work for me. And I'm not going to sit in shame or guilt around something that's not going to work, right? I don't even know where I'm going with that. Pause. So let's look at really just refining where you're at in the current season of your life, in the current climate of your life. If you're working full time, 9 to 5, and you don't have the space, or you don't even want to on the weekends be stuck on a Sunday cleaning and meal prepping, like that's actually okay. Be kind to yourself, be gentle and compassionate with the season that you're in, because nothing lasts forever. And if you're like me and you've got teenagers or toddlers and multiple businesses and things like that, it doesn't need to look a certain way for it to be right. It just needs to be what works for you. And that's actually okay. Like, can we stop shaming ourselves over the comparisonitis and the guilt that drops in when we're not doing what we see other women doing on social media? Can we stop feeling those feelings that are actually then mapping into other areas of our life? How we do one thing, you've heard me say this before on the pod, how we do one thing is absolutely how we do everything. So how is that impacting other areas of your life? Is it impacting your relationship because you're not feeling good about yourself as a mum? So I can imagine you're not feeling good about yourself as a woman, and then imagine that you're not feeling good about yourself as a partner. Is that impacting your relationship? Is that impacting other goals? Is that impacting your career? Of course it is, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. So let's give permission to ourselves to strip things back to the basics and look at what works, look at what feels good, and how we can focus on our health and our vitality with clarity and congruence with the current season of our life.